Okay, this is a bit of an advanced topic, but if you're spending real money on ads, this could be the most important feature that Ontraport has to offer you, and it could make the difference between running ads profitably or not. Now let me start by sharing a little internet history with you. If you were an advertiser back around the dawn of time, like say the mid-2000s, you may remember that the only way to see which ads worked or didn't work well was by tracking the number of clicks that each ad got. Now that might seem alright, but it really wasn't, because it turns out that it's super common for a particular ad to get a lot of clicks, but no sales. And the reverse can also be true. Sometimes you'll get fewer clicks, but from just the right people who end up being great prospects and buying your stuff like crazy. So, testing by measuring clicks stank, and everyone knew it. But it was the best we could do at the time. Then, some of the ad platforms, like Facebook and Google, created a new system where you'd put a little code on your web pages, and that code would read a personal identifier, which is stored in the cookie in the user's browser, and then tell the ad platforms who just visited the pages on your site. And that innovation was a major breakthrough, because you no longer had to look through click-through rates to see which ads were working or not. Instead, you could look at who actually opted into your site, or if you were in e-commerce, you could even see who was actually buying. Then you could tie that back to the ads that they originally clicked. For the first time, advertisers could begin to see which ads really worked to grow their business and which ones didn't. Even better, all this information flowing back to the ad platforms gave them enormous sets of data that they could then use to figure out exactly what kind of person likes to buy your stuff. So they created all these fancy algorithms designed to send you people who are more likely to buy from you based on who bought from you in the past. And this worked amazingly well. So well, in fact, that these ad platforms became some of the biggest businesses in the world by selling these hyper-targeted ads, and business owners had a fantastic new way to grow their businesses online. Unfortunately, that's the end of the good part of this story, because there are some serious problems with this as well. First, this whole model only really works if you sell things that people buy quickly without thinking too long and hard about it, like shoes or t-shirts or pretty much any kind of physical product or inexpensive service. But if your sales cycle is a little longer, this model begins to break down badly. Let me explain why. If you're selling a more considered purchase, something that costs a lot of money or is a big decision, or where people need to trust you and get to know you before they buy, the time between clicking an advertisement and a purchase can be weeks or months instead of minutes or hours. And that's the situation for almost all higher-end service providers. And in that case, this pixel tracking model begins to fail. The personal tracking ID that's added by Facebook or Google and stored in a cookie on your browser tends to get lost over time. People switch from their laptops to their phones, clear their browser history, change browsers, you name it. And when the cookie isn't there when the visitor buys, the ad platforms don't know who they are. This causes a cascade of problems. First, you'll see that a sale was made, but Facebook and Google will report that it came from an unknown source instead of from one of your ads. That means you're likely making sales from some of your campaigns, but you don't even know about it. So, because you're careful with your money, you can turn those campaigns off because it looks like they're not working. And that's bad because it makes it really hard for you to grow your business when you can't trust your ad data. And worse, because all these great buyers are anonymous as far as Google and Facebook are concerned, their algorithms can't create profiles of your ideal customers. So all the power that these giant platforms have to go find you new good prospects is totally lost. This effectively sends us back to the dark ages of 2005. Because if we can't get good data about who's actually buying and relate those back to the ads that they initially clicked, we're left trying to figure out what works by looking at the very top of the funnel. Which ads get clicked on the most? We all know that this doesn't work. And it's only going to get worse. You've probably heard by now that reasonable privacy concerns are inspiring fundamental changes in how the internet works. In 2021, Apple began blocking third-party cookies for almost everyone who uses an iPhone, which is a whole lot of people. And Chrome, which is the world's most popular browser by a long shot, plans to block third-party cookies by sometime in 2022. This means that these ad platforms really can't track people the way that they used to. And the whole model that caused Facebook and Google to become as successful as they are is fundamentally threatened. The reason advertising on these platforms works so well is that their algorithms help to show your ads only to highly targeted groups of people. Because they're so well targeted, the people who see your ads tend to be more interested and tend to buy and click on things. That lowers your cost per sale, because you only pay to put your ads in front of the best prospects for your business. But now, if they no longer have the data they need to feed their algorithms, they don't know who to put your ads in front of. So they put them in front of a less well-targeted audience, and fewer of them click and fewer of them buy. But of course, you're still paying based on the number of people who see the ad. If more people have to see your ad in order to get the same amount of sales that you used to, your cost per sales goes up. Way up. In fact, Facebook is telling their customers that their cost per sale is likely to be 3 times higher because of the loss of cookie data. And that's a disaster for business owners. It's also a disaster for Facebook, but we're not overly concerned about Zuckerberg. He's going to be just fine. We're more worried about us. Fortunately, there's a solution here, and you happen to be watching the video that describes it, and here it is. Even though Facebook and Google don't know who's buying your stuff, you certainly do. And if you have the right technology in place, you can figure out which ad each buyer initially clicked on. And again, with the right technology, you can send all that data, who bought from you and which ad they clicked, back to Google and Facebook so that once again, they have all the data that they need to feed their algorithms and help you find better targeted audiences for your ads. If you collect and send this customer data back to the ad platforms, you can avoid these skyrocketing advertising costs and continue to leverage the incredible power that these platforms have to find you new customers. In fact, it's the only way this whole game is going to work in the future. Ad costs will be far too expensive for anyone who doesn't get this done, and Facebook and Google know it. They're now leaning hard on their advertisers to move away from pixel tracking and start sending them conversion data via their APIs. Sending this data back to the ad platform solves all of these problems, but of course with a caveat. In order to send this conversion data back to Facebook and Google, you have to have the data in the first place. Fortunately, this is where Ontraport shines really, really brightly, because we collect more and better data about your prospects and customers for you than any other platform out there, and we do it automatically. What's great about this is that you can not only send purchase data back to Facebook and Google, but also other important conversion points along the way, allowing the ad platforms to optimize your ads based on even shorter term conversions. For example, maybe you have phone consultations or demos with leads. If so, you can mark each lead as qualified or not, and send that data back to the ad platforms automatically, allowing you to see which ad campaigns are driving the most qualified conversions, and allowing the platforms to optimize your ad spend based on that metric. It's extremely powerful stuff. We call it deep funnel conversion tracking. And instead of trying to guess what's working based on the top of funnel metrics like ad clicks, we're tracking based on the good stuff, deeper in the funnel. Qualified leads, trials, purchases, so on. And you'll be able to see the results right in your Google ad account or your Facebook ad account. Okay, so that was a long and complicated story, but an important one to understand if you're actually into the advertising game. In the rest of this video, I'm going to show you how to set things up so that you're automatically sending data back to the ad platforms as it comes in the door. It'll take a few minutes, but you'll only need to do this once. We're going to do it in 3 steps. First, we're going to turn on deep funnel conversion tracking. Then we're going to see where your data is going to live. And third, we're going to set up an automation to send the data back using webhooks. Let's jump in. Okay, let's start with step 1, turning on deep funnel conversion tracking in Ontraport. Navigate to your advanced features and you'll see deep funnel conversion tracking option there. Go ahead and toggle it on. You'll also need to turn on the tracking feature in the same section if it's not already turned on in your account. Sweet, we're already on to step 2. Now let's see where your data is going to live. By turning on deep funnel tracking a second ago, we automatically created new fields inside of your contact records. Let's check them out. Okay, take a look in here. See this lead information section? These are the 4 new fields that we just created. The GA client ID, the GCL ID, the Facebook FBC, and the Facebook FBP. The first 2 are IDs added to your visitors' cookies by Google, and the second 2 are, you guessed it, added by Facebook. Those will only show up if there are contacts who clicked on a Facebook link. When you turned on the basic tracking feature, you also got a bunch of fields to store UTM variables, which you can see here. But these will automatically be captured by Ontraport if you're adding them to the URLs in your ads, which you absolutely must be doing. We have another video explaining how to use the UTM variables linked below in the video resources section. One thing to remember, grabbing these IDs and UTMs automatically is some special Ontraport magic, but it only works if you're using Ontraport forms and have Ontraport tracking scripts on your web pages. So make sure you've got that set up. Okay, so that's where this fancy tracking data lives, and that leaves us with one more step, and it's a fun one, setting up the automation. Some great news about this step is that we've already built out a template for this automation. It's free and you can find it in the marketplace. This is going to be a breeze. Start by loading up a new automation and search for deep funnel, and you should see this automation, sending deep funnel conversions to Google Analytics and Facebook. Pick one of these, check this box so you can add this stuff to your account, and let's go. Give it a second, and soon you'll get a prompt letting you know that your automation is ready to go. When you see that, you can start editing. It might seem tricky to edit this automation, but it's easier than it looks. And if you ever want extra help, just peek at this checklist for more details on how to set things up. So here's how this works. Every time something new and important happens to one of your contacts, you're going to send a conversion event back to Google and Facebook. Typically, this happens at each stage of your conversion process. So for example, let's see what this looks like in Ontraport. Our leads usually go through a few conversion stages before they buy. First, they opt into our list. Usually this is for something like a free ebook. Then they start a free trial. And then they request a demo. Then our sales reps confirm whether they're qualified prospects, aka SQLs or sales qualified leads. And finally, the smart ones upgrade to a paid account. Each of these is a conversion event, which we can use to optimize our ads in Google and Facebook. To do this, we add a trigger in this campaign for each event. Whenever someone goes through a conversion event, the campaign fires that info back to Google and Facebook. To get started, of course, you'll need to set up your triggers. You may have certain triggers in mind, and that's okay, but a good rule of thumb is to use the basic contact is created option. It's already in your template, how convenient. Next, you'll need to edit these send a webhook elements. In each one, you'll see these notes, and they have lots of details, but for now, you just need to know how to find your account ID numbers and add them in. For example, your Google Analytics account ID goes here. Here is the specific info that you'll need on hand. First, you're going to need your Google Analytics account ID. Second, your Google Ads conversion name if you're setting up specific conversion goals. And third, your Facebook Pixel Conversion API Access Token. Facebook has a page that explains how to get your API Access Token, and since Facebook likes to change things a lot, instead of showing you how it works right now and then being wrong in a little bit, we've instead linked their instructions in the resources section on this page. With that information, you'll just need to go through the elements on this map and fill in the blanks. Of course, publish your automation at the end to make the magic happen. While this setup isn't insanely complicated, we realize it may be a little out of your comfort zone. And luckily, there's tons of certified Ontraport experts who are great with this stuff. If you want some assistance, just post your request in the Facebook user community and someone will jump in to help in no time. There you go. Now you know how to turn on deep funnel tracking in your account, see where your data lives inside of each contact record, and set up the automation that sends that data back to your ad platforms. Once this is all set, Ontraport will look for this data automatically in your future leads, and anytime it finds a new conversion event, it'll pop it into your ad platforms. In the next video, we're going to keep learning about advanced marketing features, starting with split testing.